Star Fox 64 Survival. It is a new Zelda mod that will beat you down and stress you out, but in mostly a good way. The mod was created by Zel and Kaze, two of the heads behind the Missing Link mod, which, by the way, was a stellar experience, so good in fact that Nintendo wiped it off the face of the planet. But if you get the chance and can find a way to play it, please do. If not, we do have a video on the Missing Link, which is a Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time interquel, I think is the word. It takes place in between the two. We have a video on that particular mod on our channel that I'll link to in the description below. So in Star Fox 64 Survival, you play as Fox McCloud. Functionally, you play as Link. There's no mechanics or control differences here, but it is Fox's model nonetheless. Your R-Wing has crash-landed on a mysterious planet, and you must survive 30 days with randomized enemies and randomized rewards to escape it. Every day, you repeat the process of killing every single enemy on the map, never initially knowing what the hell the game will throw at you next. The map itself is always the same, mind you, but it has variation in terrain and theme. So for example, a lava/fire area with tight platforms or a slippery ice area are probably the best examples of this. In this day and age, you know, the Ocarina of Time battle mechanics, the fighting is somewhat clunky and primitive, but you do really learn to maximize it here. You need to understand when you can play offensively and when you can play defensively. And it does help that the battlefield is littered with bomb flowers, but aside from that, everything is pretty sparse. Very few heart/health is given out, and you get very few rupees. And at the end of the day, you're awarded a treasure chest for clearing the enemies. It's random, so here's an example of me getting magic before I can even use magic. Sometimes you'll get decent items and purple rupees, but most of the time, in my playthrough anyways, yours will probably be different because it's random, but most of the time you get garbage. And it really adds to the stress and to the challenge. There's also an area that functions as a pseudo-market where you can purchase items, you know, a red potion, a shield, etc. And it's incredibly helpful when you can actually spare the rupees. So overall, I was very impressed with this title. You know, it's not as grand of a scope as something like The Missing Link or just something that has a story element to it. This has a story element, but it's very, very thin. It's more about just getting out there and fighting and figuring out a strategy for whatever the randomized enemy placement will throw at you. If you're into combative pressure in your games, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're into Star Fox or if you're into Zelda, in this case, Ocarina of Time. You know, even for me, you know, someone who's always valued Zelda's sense of exploration, lore, and puzzles far above and beyond the combat mechanics, I still found myself wanting to come back and do, you know, just one more day. Just, you know, I'll do one more day's worth of fighting just to see what happens, just to feel like that little bit of a thrill. You know, maybe it's because I'm in quarantine and I have no thrills anymore. Just kidding, I'm still drinking. Thank you again to Zel and Kaze for the excellent work. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description to romhacking.net where you can find it for yourself. You'll need this, a Ocarina of Time version 1.0 ROM, and there's instructions regarding how to marry the two and patch them together. And of course, thank you all for watching, subscribing, supporting the show. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, and we'll see you all next time.